Two sisters left together that night, just as they had many times before. Only one of them would ever be found. The other has never been found. Not a year later, not 28 years later. 7 men were convicted. The case was officially closed. But closed isn't the same thing as answered, because one question was never asked. And once you hear it, it's very difficult to look at this case the same way again. July 16th, 1997, Cebu City, Philippines, a Wednesday evening. Jacqueline Chiong, 21 years old, finished her shift at a local internet cafe. She went outside to meet her older sister, Jacqueline, 23 years old. They were going to go home together. It was something they did all the time. That night, it was raining. Their mother, Thelma, waited at home. She thought the rain was making it hard for them to find a ride. She sent their 2 brothers out to look for them. The brothers came back without them. By 5 in the morning, the family was searching the streets. They never came home. 2 days later, a man walking through a ravine in Carcar City found a body at the bottom of a cliff. It was Marijoy. She had been handcuffed. Her mouth had been taped shut. Based on the autopsy, she was still alive when she was thrown off that edge. Jacqueline was never found. But here is something that was never widely reported. That night, Jacqueline tried to escape twice. The first time was just 14 meters from where they were taken. 14 meters. She managed to get out of the car. She ran. They caught her, brought her back. The second time was at the ravine in Carcar. Hours later, she pulled herself out of the van and ran toward the road. A tricycle driver was passing through at that moment. He saw a young woman running. Her blouse was torn. Her hair was disheveled. Behind her, a white van was following slowly. Music blaring. Men shouting through the windows. The van caught up with her. The men leaned out and shouted, "Run some more!" She was forced back inside. The tricycle driver kept driving. He didn't know what he had just witnessed. While the family searched, while the city mourned, one question was already forming in the back of everyone's mind. Who did this? The answer the courts gave has never stopped raising questions. For 10 months after the sisters disappeared, police had nothing. No confirmed suspect, no solid evidence. The investigation was going cold. Then, a prisoner came forward. His name was Davidson Rusia. Rusia had grown up in Cebu, but moved to the United States as a teenager. There, he was arrested twice, once for stealing from a cash register, once for forging a check. He had attempted suicide twice. He had spent several months in a psychiatric institution. He had returned to the Philippines in 1996 and was living with one of the accused at the time of the sisters' disappearance. This was the man who came forward. He told police he had been there that night. He said he saw everything, and his story was detailed, very detailed. He said the night began with a message from a friend. There would be a big happening. He thought it meant a party. He went along. What followed was a story that lasted hours. From the mall in Cebu City to 2 different locations where they tried to rent a van and were turned away, both times, to a safe house, to a bus terminal where they finally found one, all the way to a ravine in Carcar, almost 150 meters deep. His account included details investigators later tried to verify: the specific streets they took, the name of the store where someone bought barbecue and rum, the plate number of the van, the order of events at the ravine. He also agreed to reenact the crime for police. During the reenactment, he led investigators through the same route, the same streets, the same stops, the same ravine, and he admitted that he himself had taken part in what happened to Jacqueline. He said he could no longer bear the guilt, that the sisters appeared in his nightmares, that he came forward because he needed it to stop. In exchange for his testimony, he was not charged. There was one more thing about that night that nobody planned for. Early in the morning of July 17th, while it was still dark, a man named Manuel Kemingao was riding his tricycle past the ravine at Carcar. He was the chief of the local neighborhood watch. He noticed a white van parked near the edge of the cliff. He thought someone was dumping garbage, so he did what any careful man would do. He wrote down the plate number on the side of his tricycle, GGC 491. He had no idea what he had just recorded. But the plate number wasn't the only lead investigators had. Davidson Rusia named 7 men. One name stood above all the others: Francisco Juan Larrañaga. Everyone called him Paco. He was 19 years old. His mother was a member of the Osmeña family, one of the most powerful political dynasties in Cebu. His father was Spanish. He was both Spanish and Filipino. The media had their story: rich family, troubled past, famous name. Before a single day of trial, the public had already decided. But Paco said he wasn't even in Cebu that night. He was in Manila, 800 kilometers away, attending culinary school. He had 45 people ready to swear to it. Classmates, teachers, friends, all saying the same thing. Paco was with us. He never left. 4 different airline companies checked their records. No Francisco Juan Larrañaga flew from Manila to Cebu on July 15th, 16th, or 17th. Not one ticket. And while lawyers prepared their cases, while newspapers printed Paco's face on their front pages, Jacqueline Chiong was still missing. Nobody was looking for her anymore. The trial began in 1998, and almost immediately, something felt wrong. The prosecution had one witness, one man who claimed he saw everything: Davidson Rusia. The prosecution questioned him for days. When it was finally the defense's turn, the judge gave them 30 minutes. 30 minutes to challenge the only witness in a double murder case. That was all they needed, because in those 30 minutes, Rusia admitted he had lied. He told the court he had never been convicted of a crime. In reality, he had already been convicted twice: burglary, forgery. When confronted with the records, he collapsed in the courtroom. Later, his own cellmates claimed police had tortured him before he gave his statement. Other witnesses called by the prosecution were later accused of being paid. None of it stopped the trial. Paco's lawyers had 45 witnesses: classmates, teachers, friends. Every one of them said the same thing: Paco was in Manila, not Cebu. The court never heard them. The judge refused. There were too many. 45 people saying a man was somewhere else was apparently too much for this courtroom. Paco was never allowed to testify in his own defense. And there was one more detail. A security guard from Paco's condominium in Manila had submitted a logbook entry showing Paco entered the building at 10:15 p.m. on the night of the crime. But the entry was written at the top of the page, not in chronological order. The entries around it showed 10:05 p.m. and 10:25 p.m. The 10:15 entry for Paco had no space where it belonged. The court found this suspicious. It suggested the entry had been added later, inserted into a gap that wasn't there. And there was another contradiction. Paco's teacher testified he attended her applied mathematics lecture on the morning of July 16th, from 8 until 11:30. But in Paco's own sworn affidavit, he stated that on that same morning, he was taking his midterm examination in fundamentals of cookery from 8 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. 2 different subjects, 2 different schedules, from the same person on the same day. And then there was this. The mother of the victims, Jacqueline Chiong, called Davidson Rusia, a man who admitted to being present during the rape of her daughters, a gift from God. She brought him birthday gifts in prison. Thelma's sister was the personal secretary to President Estrada, the same president who assigned 4 government agencies to work this case. And the Chief Justice, who later refused to revisit the convictions, was related to the Chiong family. On May 5th, 1999, all 7 men were convicted. 5 years later, the Supreme Court increased the sentence: death by lethal injection. And through every hearing, every headline, every courtroom argument, Jacqueline Chiong was still missing. No one had found her. No one was asking what really happened that night. Now, I need to go back to something. The morning after Mary Joy and Jacqueline disappeared, their father, Dionisio Chiong, was supposed to be somewhere, not searching for his daughters. He had an appointment. He was scheduled to walk into a congressional hearing room and testify against his former employer. Dionisio had worked at a trucking company in Cebu. The owner of that company was under investigation by the Philippine Congress. The charge, running one of the largest drug trafficking operations in the entire Visayas region. Dionisio had been fired, and he was ready to talk. The morning after his daughters vanished, he canceled. He never testified. He never explained why. Not one investigator working the Chiong case ever followed up on this. Not one. So who was this employer? In a documentary about the case, a journalist was asked directly, who was this man? He said the name. But when the film was shown in the Philippines, the name was muted. Viewers who watched carefully read it on his lips. Peter Lim. Peter Lim, a businessman from Cebu. Publicly, he ran legitimate companies, heavy equipment, car dealerships, real estate. But his name kept appearing in places it shouldn't. In 2001, the Philippine Congress formally investigated him for suspected drug trafficking. 2 key witnesses agreed to testify. In 2006, one of them was shot dead in Cebu City. In 2011, the second was killed in his home. The investigation went nowhere. In 2016, President Rodrigo Duterte, standing in front of cameras, named Peter Lim as the biggest drug lord in the entire Visayas region. Peter Lim denied it. No charges were ever filed. And then, internet users found something. Photographs from a wedding. The wedding of Debbie Chiong, the youngest daughter of Dionisio and Thelma. Standing next to the Chiong family was Peter Lim, the same man Dionisio was supposed to testify against. At a Chiong family wedding, we cannot tell you what that means. No court has ever accused Peter Lim in connection with the disappearance of these sisters. No investigation has ever formally linked him to what happened to Marijoy and Jacqueline. But the questions are there, and they have never been answered. And somewhere in all of this, Jacqueline Chiong was still missing. In 2006, the Philippines abolished the death penalty. Sentences were reduced to life in prison. In 2009, Paco Larrañaga was transferred to a prison in Spain. He could have been released years earlier if he admitted guilt. He never did. He has since been granted conditional release in Spain. He still maintains his innocence. In 2019, it came out that 4 of the other convicts, Josman Aznar, Ariel Balansag, Alberto Caño, and James Anthony Uy, had been quietly released early under a good conduct law. When the public found out, it became a national scandal. President Duterte fired the prison director. All 4 were ordered to surrender. They did. Rowan Adlawan died in prison in December 2021. James Anthony Uy was released in May 2024. Josman Aznar was released in March 2025. One by one, they walked free. Judge Martin Ocampo, the man who refused 45 witnesses who gave the defense 30 minutes, was found dead in a hotel room in Cebu, a note beside him. He said he did not want to die of old age. Marijoy Chiong was buried. Jacqueline Chiong was never found. 7 men were convicted. 1 man was never questioned. 28 years have passed, and the case is officially closed. But closed doesn't mean answered. What really happened outside that mall on the night of July 16, 1997? Who decided that 7 specific men would take the fall? And why did a father cancel his testimony the morning after his daughters disappeared and never speak of it again?